everyone. Today we will discuss about the modern theory of international trade. Yesterday we discussed about the classical theories of international trade. Today we will discuss what is the modern theory of Heckscher-Ohlin. Modern theory is Heckscher-Ohlin theory. Heckscher-Ohlin theory is known as a modern theory of international trade. Bertrand Ohlin, in his famous book Inter-Regional and International Trade, criticized the classical theory of international trade and formulated the general equilibrium or factor endowment theory of international trade. It is also known as the modern theory of international trade or the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem. Heckscher-Ohlin theory is known as modern theory of international trade. It was first formulated by Swedish economist Heckscher in 1919 and later on fully developed by his student Ohlin in 1935. Heckscher-Ohlin theory, also called the factor endowment theory of international trade, attempts to explain that international trade is simply a special case of inter-local or inter-regional trade, and there is no need for a separate theory of international trade. It emphasizes differences in factor endowment and not differences in factor efficiency, as maintained in the classical theory, are the true basis of international trade. Assumptions. It is a 2 into 2 model. There are two countries, A and B, two commodities, X and Y, and two factor of production, capital and labor. So that's why it's called 2 into 2 model. Factor mobility, perfect competition, identical demand, production function, identical, no change, linear homogeneous of degree 1. There is a perfect competition in commodity as well as factor market. There is full employment of resources. There is full employment of resources. There are quantitative differences in factor endowment in different regions, but qualitatively they are homogeneous. The production function of two commodities have different factor intensities, labor intensive and capital intensive. The production function are different for different commodities, but are the same for each good in both countries. It means that the production function of commodity X is different from commodity Y, but the technique used to produce commodity X in both countries is the same, and the technique used to produce commodity Y in both countries is the same. There is perfect mobility. Perfect mobility of factors within each region, but internationally they are immobile. There are no transport cost. Free trade is there, and there is free trade between the two countries. There are constant returns to scale in the production of each commodity in each region. That is called linear homogeneous. There is no change in technological knowledge. So given these assumptions, Ohlin contend that the immediate cause of international trade is the difference in relative commodity prices caused by difference in relative demand and supply of factors. Factor prices as a result of differences in factor endowment between two countries. Fundamentally, the relative scarcity of factors, the shortage of supply to regions. Commodities which use large quantities of scarce factors are imported because their prices are high, while those using abundant factor are exported because their prices are low. Explanation. Differences in relatively commodity prices is the immediate cause of international trade. Differences in commodity prices is due to the differences is the factor prices. Differences in factor prices is due to the differences in factor endowment. Thus, good which uses more of abundant factor will be relatively cheap, as relatively factor price of abundant factor will be relatively low. Criteria are two So Ohlin explained reaches in factor endowment in terms of factor prices according to his definition. There are two criteria at classifying a country as labor capital abundant or labor capital scarce. Physical criteria and price criteria. Physical criteria. Based on the physical quantity, the country whose capital labor ratio is greater is called capital abundant. Let us assume that Germany and India, suppose, are two countries. Then Germany is capital abundant and India is labor abundant. So, kg by lg is greater than ki by li. G is Germany or I is India. We are taking example only. Hence kg is quantity of capital in Germany because Germany is capital abundant country, and K1 in India, Lg is quantity of labor in Germany and Li in India. So we can explain with the help of this graph. Germany capital abundant nation है and what capital intensive technique we are using, and skip towards y-axis, watches and shirts. So for watches they are using capital intensive technique, for shirts they are using labor intensive technique. So Germany is produce watches more than India because Germany having capital. So India labor abundant and is making shirts with labor intensive technique. Represents production of shirts and watches in same proportion. In both countries produce in same ratio. Then Germany will produce at point S and India at point Germany will produce at point B and India at point A. Slope of Germany straight lines PG and point B is steeper than India's PI. This shows that given factor and domain, Germany can produce comparatively more watches and India more shirt, because Germany is capital abundant country and India is labor abundant country. So Germany will produce watches and India will produce shirt. Hence India will export shirts and import watches from Germany. The analysis system of physical quantity of factors of production consider supply aspect only. It shows that capital abundant country Germany has a bias in favor of capital abundant. India is labor intensive technique for making shirt. It does not show that the capital abundant country will export capital intensive commodity. It depends on the nature of demand. To understand this, we have to consider price criteria of factor abundant. Okay, price. Now we will show price criteria. The country, based on the prices of factors of production, the country where capital is relatively cheap is called capital abundant, even if quantity of capital is relatively more. Okay. Let us assume that Germany and India are two countries. Then Germany is capital abundant. So here Germany PC by PL. PC is price of capital. PL is price of labor. So in Germany PC by PL is less than of India's PC by PL. Okay. Diagrammatic explanation. Here you can see OX axis it shows labor and OY axis shows capital. So here SS and W ISO product curve of both countries, SS and WW. AB and AB are ISO cost line of Germany. PQ and P1 Q1 are ISO cost line for Germany. So it is touch. These lines are showing equilibrium on point E. So Germany is capital abundant and India is labor abundant. This is isoproduct curves crosses only at point T, indicating no factor intensity reversal. Slope of isocost line AB and PQ shows that capital is relatively cheap in Germany and labor is relatively cheap in India. Why? Because Germany is capital abundant and India is labor abundant. That's why in Germany capital is cheap than India, and India is labor abundant, so labor is cheap in India. For Germany, production cost of 25 watches, GH capital plus FH labor. Production cost of 100 shirt is equal to GH capital plus FJ labor. This shows that production cost of 100 shirt is more than 25 watches. For India, production cost 25 watches, TL labor plus KM capital. So production cost of 100 shirts is TL labor plus LM labor. This shows that production cost of 100 shirt is less than 25 watches amount of capital. From first and second, we can conclude that as labor abundant India can produce labor intensive shirts at relatively lesser cost, it would specialize in the production of shirts and should export it. Okay. Likewise, Germany should produce and export watches because Germany is capital abundant. Factor price equality. When two countries start trading, then the factor prices will be equal in the long run because India will produce more of labor intensive shirts, hence demand for labor and wage rate will rise in India. And as Germany import labor intensive goods, its demand for labor and wage rate will decline till wage rate in both countries equalize. That's why it's called factor price equality. So in superiority over the classical theory, Ohlin theory is an improvement over the classical theory of international trade in many respects. Ohlin theory is superior to the classical theory in that it regards international trade as a special case of inter-regional or interlocal trade as distinct from the classical theory, which consider international trade totally different from domestic trade. The Ohlin model takes two factors, labor and capital, as against the one factor labor classical model, and is thus superior to the latter. Again, the Ohlin theory is superior to Ricardian theory in that it regards differences in factor supplies as basis for determining the pattern of international trade, while the latter theory takes no notice of it. The Ohlin model is more realistic because it is based on the relative prices of factor, which is turn influence the relative prices of goods, while the Ricardian theory considered the relative prices of goods only. To criticize. Ohlin theory has been criticized on the following grounds. 2 by 2 by 2 model is unrealistic. Leontief paradox. The most interesting empirical test of the Hickscher-Ohlin theorem that has been made so far in a study of undertaken by Vasily Leontief in the early 1950s. Leontief tests his hypothesis with the help of an input-output table for the United States for 1947. He attempted to verify the empirical validity of the Hickscher-Ohlin theorem that a capital abundant country would export relatively capital intensive goods and in turn import more labor intensive goods. In context of USA economy, the Hickscher-Ohlin model tells that this country specializes in export of those goods which use more capital than labor and import relatively labor intensive goods. But by Leontief's practical test, it was found that USA exported more of labor intensive goods and imported more of capital intensive goods. A situation that was in direct contrast to its relative factor endowment position. As such, Leontief's result came as a great surprise to many economists of the world. Some economics criticized Leontief's finding on the ground that 1947 was not the right year for testing the theory, as during this year the economy was beset with the post-war disorganization of production. In defense of criticism, Leontief stated that America's participation in international division of labor was based on its specialization in labor intensive rather than capital lines of production. In other words, the country resort to foreign trade in order to economize its capital and dispose of its surplus labor rather than the reverse. It was also argued that the US exports industries employ more skilled labor and are thus human capital intensive rather than physical capital. Abundance of human capital in US economy explain its exports of labor intensive goods. So Leontief is criticized about the Hickscher-Ohlin theory. Static theory. So he explained here static economy, but in long run static is not there. No constant tests. Factors are not homogeneous because one is using capital intensive and one is using labor intensive. Production techniques are not homogeneous. Wrong argument of good and prices. Partial equilibrium analysis. So these two goods are different, not homogeneous. One is using labor intensive technique and one watches for watches using capital intensive technique. So these two goods are very different. That's why many of them criticize. But this Hickscher-Ohlin theory is very important theory. Okay, thank you.